Welcome to Das One Hunt. I'm Xiao Pierre Ruth with Information Week, and today I am joined by Tony Moore, Senior Director of Silicon Lab Services with IOActive, and my colleague Shane Snider, who is a Senior Writer with Information Week. Gentlemen, thank you for being part of the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, JP.
Right. All right. So today's episode, I'm calling the fallout when the chips are down. We're going to take a discussion, kind of a speculative look at our reliance in the technology scene on semiconductor chips, but then also tying it in a little bit into a speculative science fiction show that a few people have watched called Fallout, where one aspect of that is that there is a retrofuture world where semiconductor chips were not the mainstay of compute power, and they have a very different take on things. I'm not saying that we want that, because that setting is not something anyone would want to live in, but to have a discussion about the reliance on semiconductor chips. We've been through a chip shortage. We're seeing different kinds of demands being placed on semiconductor chips, particularly with the growth and development of AI. So, gentlemen, I'm very glad to have you on board to kind of speak to where we are, where we could be going, and how things might potentially change as the needs for compute power continue to evolve. So, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So let's talk first about the current state of play, and then also take that quick hard turn of what if we did not have semiconductor chips. Right now, as I said, we've gone through period of shortage, and the way that compute power is really looking to continue to build up in different ways than we were originally expecting. Are we really beholden to semiconductor chips as they exist now, or is there something else that we might want? Tony, your thoughts in terms of, is there a stranglehold on the innovation based on our reliance on these kinds of chips, and are we looking to anything else that might be out there?
Well, yeah, it's an interesting conversation because, we had this kind of shock of the supply shortage, and impacted a lot of things like automotive. People weren't getting the cars that they're ordered, and it was somewhat of a surprise, really, for a lot of people, because a lot of these devices were very basic devices. They weren't the high-end chips that were kind of driving the cars. They were kind of very, very basic components, a lot of them. So therefore, people weren't keeping a lot in stock, and then they just dried up all of a sudden. As far as the future is concerned, I mean, there has been a massive shrinking of the technology, as everybody knows, because of the drive for performance and efficiency. So really, no, there isn't an alternative as we stand now. We're kind of stuck with silicon. Well, let's say semiconductor devices. There are other semiconductors other than silicon, but really, silicon is the choice, and always has been since like the 1940s, since the first silicon transistor was demonstrated. So, yeah, silicon is great because it's an ideal semiconductor for the application, and it's also very abundant. So it's I think if there was something better available, we would have discovered it by now.
Gotcha. Great. Shane, you've covered the chip shortages far more than I did. Were there any particular lessons learned, that things that kind of came up from your coverage that organizations were kind of like discovering about how they were trying to address that reliance?
Yeah, I have some experience covering from the channel side and the buying side, and I think even people who are in the tech business for decades kind of took the supply chain for granted. And they saw maybe they saw some minor disruptions here or there, but they always thought, hey, this is everything's going to be fine. And then the pandemic happened, and suddenly we can't get chips for appliances for kitchen use, and cars, no cars on the lots for days on end, or I'm sorry, months on end. So yeah, I think we were all kind of caught off guard, and I think the tech industry was caught off guard, and it certainly spurred a lot of discussion about our reliance and our the current supply chain setup, and it made the prospect of wanting a domestic semiconductor source a lot more attractive for everyone. I think everyone understands now what the need is and why that's an important goal.
Gotcha. Yeah. In addition to the idea of dealing with shortages, part of a question, and either of you can answer this, the reliance on the current technology, the current hardware, has it made it a little bit easier for bad actors to kind of focus on understanding, this is the basic technology that they're going to be, trying to drill into, so to speak. Has it kind of made it so that the bad actors really have like a really good understanding of the playground that they're trying to attack? Has that become any kind of like part of the conversation?
I would say it highlighted some concerns with the supply chain. I work for IOActive, by the way, so we're a full stack sort of security services company. So we look at everything from people down to operating systems, hardware, firmware, software, any kind of code, down to the transistors of the silicon device itself, which is my interest. So there is an issue where components were being supplied that weren't the actual components in question. They've been rebadged and then kind of passed on to kind of in the hope that it would do the same job or at least pass as the genuine device, because people were so desperate for an alternative supply, and they were going to maybe going through supply chains that weren't part of their trusted route because of the desperation for parts during that time. So I think it maybe highlighted, rather than people trying to hack, I think it was more highlighting issues with people trying to take advantage of the situation and supply counterfeit parts or recycled parts or rebadged parts.
Tony, if I could ask you, where do we stand now? If something catastrophic were to happen right now, has anything changed with the supply chain, or do we have a better handle on it, on sourcing these things, or where do we stand?
It's difficult to answer that. I mean, I've worked for semiconductor manufacturers, now I work for a security service company, so it's I don't directly work with the supply of devices, but you would like to think that people have learned lessons and they would hold more of a, I mean, I guess the idea of not holding a lot of stock on the shelf, so to speak, is to do with finance. That's just streamlining the process. You don't want a lot of stock taking up space, and you don't want to spend a lot of cash on parts that you don't need right now. So they were kind of like, there was this like just in time idea of just having enough stock to cover what you needed at that time. But then that doesn't help when the supply just dries up all of a sudden, then you're left with nothing after a couple of weeks. So it's a money saver for sure. But I would imagine now people are a lot more careful about that and give themselves more of a buffer to continue production for longer than they did.
Let's go back to the recycling side of things. How much of that played into trying to deal with this most recent shortage, and is that much of a long-term kind of way to kind of feed the need, or are there just really limitations even to the recycling side of semiconductor chips that make it like, is it more ideal to continue produce new, or can recycling the materials in some way kind of like help feed this beast, so to speak?
I mean, recycling devices is a big components is a big thing. Legitimately, I mean, it's good to recycle, of course. I suppose the danger is that you're buying a component for a secure application. You'd like to know that was came directly from the vendor, hasn't been sort of recycled or tampered with in any way, reprogrammed, or in the extreme circumstances you could have something like a hardware backdoor where the design of the chip has actually been altered to allow access by an attacker of some sort. These are all kind of issues that we try and help deal with. by checking the package of the device for a start. Has it been desoldered? Has it been rebadged? Has the original marking been removed? And also looking at the actual silicon die itself inside the package, because who does that? You can't just open it up like with a screwdriver. You have to use highly corrosive acids, and people just don't do this on a regular basis. People aren't taking the silicon die out of the package and examining it. The die on a regular basis. It's not a trivial thing, and a lot of people aren't even aware of what a chip looks like inside that package, to be quite honest. So I'm lucky. I've been looking at chips for 20 years. It's something that I look at every day, and we analyze, we test for security. So, but I understand, most people, even in the design of chips, the design of packages, they don't really see a lot of real chips. It's just looking at a computer screen, really.
Right. What about vulnerability right now? What are some of the biggest vulnerabilities to just semiconductors overall, from your perspective, from a security standpoint?
Well, there are a lot of angles, a lot of attack vectors. What we see is that the kind of sophistication of the attacker is increasing all the time, and also what's happening is the tools that are required to arm these guys is it's coming down all the time as well. So my particular interest is in invasive attacks of chips. So this involves pretty much a multi-million-dollar lab to be able to perform this, to have the capability to examine the circuit, understand the circuit, and essentially extract information from that circuit to then find a vulnerability where you can then use a special system called a focused ion beam and then penetrate the actual chip and probe it, or actually change the design of the chip to make it not act securely, for example. So you can kind of circumvent security measures that are implemented on the chip to get to the good stuff, the IP which is on there, the keys, whatever it is. So that is the kind of extreme end. That is transistor level analysis. At the top end, you have things more like trying software attacks, basically, and then getting onto the actual hardware. You can perform glitch attacks, which is slightly more complicated and requires more skill and determination and some more tools. But then you're still in the sort of thousands of dollars range. And then between that and the fully invasive attacks, there is a whole cloud of techniques as well, which can range, usually in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. But in all cases, I would say it's
I think we've lost Tony.
There's a reliance on the tools.
Oh,
of course, there is an investment to be made in all of these different techniques, but the core of it is the expertise and the mindset, I suppose, the determination. If there is a payoff, people will get there. These are very determined people, very smart people, and yeah, that's pretty much it. It's you can provide a budget, but you need to find the people that can perform these attacks as well. But people are getting better prepared and more sophisticated as time goes down. So it's kind of security is moving down the stack, I'd say, more to the silicon level, which is my interest. If you want to put something, you have something very, very precious. That's what I would do. I'd put it actually in the silicon, in the design of the silicon, and then somebody has to do a lot of work, a lot of very specialized work to extract that.